So today I've got the stream up and running. So welcome to Nikos. Today's episode of Serendipity Falls is Sector 2. We are assembled here and have my players introduce themselves, give your character name, occupation, and what you will do with the first planet you name after yourself.
And what order is this?
Let's go order of arrival. I assume that it would be Raven, then Mo. Could be Mo, then Raven, and then yourself.
Olivia.
And then Olivia. Olivia's saying she's an observer, and I will honor that until she puts in her first 2 cents, in which case she will become a character. So.
Okay. I'm last.
But she already was one. Don't forget that.
She is. Oh, she was in this game?
Yes,
I
she
was?
was in this game.
No, I think you're thinking of Documancer. Documancer was your media officer. Remember, she was. So I don't.
Yeah.
Olivia,
It was Documancer.
Olivia,
In
did
fact,
you
I
play
think-
with us in this group?
Not this campaign, no.
Okay, I didn't think so. This is
No.
her first time joining the science fiction group. So
I'm typically working this day.
right.
Yeah, you're busy working? Oh, God, no. I'm laboring right now under a tremendous load.
Yes, she's got a bunch of stuff she's having to deal with that nobody.
Oh, in real life?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay. I mean, I'm quite frank about it. I have a cousin who's been living with me for 3 years. The last 4 weeks, something is hit. They call it senior mental impairment. You could call it Alzheimer's. You could call it senior dementia, whatever you want. She can't walk anymore. She can't sit up anymore.
Oh no.
She doesn't remember
Yeah.
to eat. She doesn't remember how to eat.
Well, she still drinks. She can still kind of hold a bottle if I support it, and she can drink. And she does respond occasionally to direct questions, but if he volunteers information, it's gibberish. It's just her language connections are just about done with. Socially polite. Isn't that strange? My mother, that was one of the last things to go,
Mm-hmm.
was
Uh,
just
So-
social response. But anyway, it's a tough road to walk down, but
Right. So Mo, go ahead and go first.
uh, oh, I played Mob Robson. I'm a captain of Serendipity Falls. The Serendipity. We call it the Serendipity Falls because it falls apart all the time.
a freelance merchant ship, right?
Well, it did, so we upgraded. twice.
Freelance research vessel.
Yeah, no, that's true. We are more research than we were.
And I'm more worried. And to answer the question about the first planet to be named as, I'm not so much worried about that as I am. What happened to Tarkin?
I think he was drunk like you were.
Yeah, but like, didn't he? He made the engine go, but where is he at?
Uh, you don't think he's going to show up for the fireworks, do you?
Well, I think you need to check the scanners because I'm not even sure he's here.
I don't think that's necessary. I think we'll be okay.
Okay.
Well, a quick search of the vessel will indicate that his body is here. It's breathing and life signs are there, but it's comatose.
I will have him brought into the medical lab and.
Yep, and med lab will be able to verify that all of his life signs are functional, and there is a slight sign of electromagnetic feedback at the point of contact when he hit that special new engine button.
Hey, Jonathan.
Yeah.
I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
like when we lose, like I don't know, one, two, three, four. If Steven's here and if Scott's here, that's two, three, four, five, six. So once you get up to six bodies that are in comatose states in the actual med lab, you should make an entire side adventure where all of those characters wake up for some kind of unknown purpose, and then you just play through them.
Yep.
Sorry,
Yep.
we're
I saw
we're
that.
talking about like
I saw that. I saw
stuff.
that show. It's called Dark Matter. If you haven't seen Dark Matter, put it on your viewing list. It's one of the best science fiction stories I've seen online.
It's fantastic.
Oh, you know Dark
I
Matter.
haven't seen it.
I haven't
put
heard
it
of
out.
it.
Oh, it's really good. It starts off literally with one guy waking up on board a starship, and he's the criminal rogue element. He's a bad man, but he wakes up and can't remember literally anything about himself. So he ends up rescuing the rest of the team, and as he rescues them, he starts to create affinity for them, and all of a sudden he's not a bad guy anymore. Now he's a good guy. But the universe knows he's a bad guy. So they end up with a special ship with all kinds of technological advancements that nobody else has, and so they are being chased by everybody. But they all have different personalities than that which they were born with. It's really, really a fascinating show.
And
Wow.
she is like an amazing, badass, well-written female character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some really good stuff in there.
And who put it out, and where can I find it?
Canada.
Mine's on Netflix.
It's
I believe.
Netflix. The whole series is on
Well,
Netflix.
it was Canadian television first.
Yes.
Okay.
Because Canada does the really good stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lost Girl. Lost, all I gotta say.
What's that?
Really?
Lost Girl.
Lost Girl.
Oh my God, it is adult Buffy. I loved it
Uh,
with fairies.
What was it
Forever.
called?
they're talking about another one called Lost Girl. She's a
Oh, yeah.
vampire or something. I can't remember.
Succubus.
Succubus.
Oh, even better.
She's a succubus. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yes, it's very good.
Okay, you may talk me into
It's
watching
delicious.
that one. I avoided it because of the actual feeling of Buffy overtones because I didn't care for the cotton candy vampire
You know,
killer.
I wasn't a huge Buffy fan, but I absolutely loved Lost Girl because it incorporated so many different things. Like, there's just a whole big mythos that it.
Okay.
and it's very sexy.
But it's very sexy. I mean,
Okay.
very sexy.
Okay.
Um,
Cool.
It is sexy.
The whole front cast is just like eye candy.
Yep.
Alrighty.
Yep. And well worth it. I felt quite rewarded by watching that show. Yeah.
Nice. Raven,
Yeah.
your introduction.
Oh, I guess we're back to the game. Sorry.
Trying
Hi.
to swerve. This is typical of serendipity. We swerve into things. We don't actually mean to get there.
Watch Lost Girl. Anyway,
Yeah, it's on my list now. All right.
so my name is Raven Connors. I'm technically the tactical officer here, but I also do a bit of the ship's navigation. And like I said, we don't really have to figure out what happened to Tarkin or anything like that. He pushed buttons on my console. So he's okay. He's fine.
I have a feeling that Raven is an Alliance agent, but I can't prove it.
Ooh, he even speaks
No.
into his microphone oddly.
Yes. But
I say maybe.
You
but
can.
I'm not sure. I
What
can.
are you gonna do with your first planet, Raven?
Oh, what am I? I'm gonna rule it, obviously. But we're gonna populate it with very particular species who, have very specific capabilities within the interplanetary systems.
Alrighty, and Gene.
Well, it'd be a habitable
No,
planet.
no,
and it's
name first. Character name.
not- I'm Felicity Vanderzee,
Medical officer.
medical officer. Scion of a, shall we say, a house that has its hands in a lot of different businesses.
And now, what you
My
would do with your planet?
Now, what I would do with my planet? Well, find people to populate it. Um, have a government system set up to start off with, and then whether it's a framework of it. There's going to have to be a lot of building up, but the framework will start there and will be in stages as the planet progresses.
Okay. So, this will we'll kick this off with Raven's head is on her arm, and she's left that wonderful creasing dent on her forehead from where her arm was as she comes to. Um, the Somehow she got into her restraints so that she didn't go bouncing all over the ship when the jump occurred. But the only operational signal on the console right now is a life support um, showing continued operation, but that's the only light on.
Out completely.
Yeah. What's in?
Sure. So you're the only one awake, Raven.
There's Mob.
What the hell? Is all she has to say.
Yes. Looking across the deck there, Mob is in his chair, but he's upside down. His feet are up over the back of the seat. His head is is laying on the ground. His shoulders supporting him in an incredibly uncomfortable looking position. His arms splayed out as if he literally flew through space and landed on the chair.
It looked like it hurts.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to console
Uh huh.
and try to figure out what our coordinates are and where we ended up experimentally jumping to.
Um, as you're flipping through the switches and consoles and trying to reset, you inadvertently turn on the narrative voice for the computer, and this I'm not going to be able to do the accent properly, but a very proper English voice responds.
Thank God, I thought you were gonna be. Hi, I'm glad to meet you. I'm your space console.
Yeah, no,
Right.
no,
Right.
no. Voice says insufficient data to answer your request.
Insufficient data, eh? Were you not tracking things, computer? Were you not doing the one job you have to do?
I perform a multiplicity of tasks aboard the Serendipity. Navigation is only a part of it, but if you are being humorous, I will respond as on cue. Ha 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 ha.
Oh, can you tell me where we are?
Unfortunately, I cannot. Still attempting to gather necessary data.
Oh,
Do you
come
know?
on. How did I end up?
Oh well, she hasn't come to look for you yet. So
Okay.
she's just now wanting to get bearings on where she is, let alone where everybody else is. And she's still letting Mob lay upside down in that chair, which can't be comfortable.
That doesn't look comfortable at all. I'm just gonna go do my job.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's really important over there. He doesn't look like that feels good. That's okay. Let's move on.
Raven will tell the computer to keep compiling data quickly, as quickly as possible, and she'll hit the intercom and ask Felicity.
Okay, there's a horrible groan from Mob about that moment as he is starting to come to. He's, as I described, splayed upside down in the captain's chair, his feet up over the headrest, and his shoulders and neck on the ground, his arms splayed out to the left and right side, and he's just now starting to come to.
Felicity, aspirin.
Um, Gene, you awaken in one of the escape pods. Uh, you're you come fully to your facilities, but your hand is literally on the eject handle as if you were going to be leaving the vessel. You don't recall going here. You don't know why, but that's where you awaken.
She takes her hands off the eject button. It's kind of like it was hot,
Yeah, exactly.
and she goes, "What?" She's confused because why couldn't she remember getting in this thing, let alone putting it on the eject? So she opens up the door and comes out.
Yeah, as you find it's like those times when you've gotten in the car and you've actually put on the safety belt and forgotten. So as you try to sit up, you can't. At first, you can't even figure out why you can't sit up, and you realize you actually went through the effort of connecting the 6-point restraint to hold you into the seat. So there was a lot more direct intent getting you in here than you remember.
Okay, she starts undoing the 6 point
Yep.
restraint.
Yeah, and about that time you'll get the message from Raven asking for your status.
I'm not exactly sure, Raven. I'm in this escape pod with 6 point contact. What happened?
Tarkin hit a button.
I guess I don't even want to ask. I don't understand this. I need to get out of here. Anybody hurt?
Um, I think Mob's a little worse for wear, but that could have been the alcohol. I don't know. He looks very uncomfortable in his chair.
Aspirin.
Okay, coming.
Still murmuring for aspirin.
Okay. So she goes on up to where Mob's cabin is, or where the captain's chair is.
Yeah, up to the deck. By that time,
Run.
he will have actually wriggled and crawled himself down flat on the ground rather than in that really twisted position on the chair. But he's not moving really fast.
Mob, just stay put. Let me get the scanner and find out if we took any injury. Raven, are you okay?
She's sitting at the console. A voice you don't recognize and says, "Unfortunately, I cannot provide you the information concerning your location. Insufficient data. Only one point is identifiable, and that is Proxima Centauri."
Okay, so what it's saying is it's saying that it's not that it can't figure out where we are, because it will. If it has one reference point, it will eventually be able to extrapolate backwards in a fashion to get a better idea of what this is going to be looking like. But seeing that's not happening right now.
Well, the one data it will give you is that you are 11.1 thousand light years, so 1.1 million light years from Proxima Centauri.
Oh,
1.1 million light years?
Mm-hmm.
oh, yeah. No.
I don't know that yet. She gets the scanner, comes back to him, gives him the once over, make sure there's nothing broken or bleeding or anything else.
Giving him the once over, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mob's body looks like a punching bag as far as he's got bruises and contusions over the majority of his body. Uh, Several large dents in his own forehead, looking like he probably slammed his head against the wall several times during his stupor, or just was really unfortunate and his head ended up being the battering ram that smacked into stuff.
Yeah.
Nope,
Uh,
that doesn't appear to have a concussion, but he'll have to be monitored, of course.
yeah. She'll go over and get one of the grab litters and bring it over and just kind of get him to help her ease him on because it doesn't. It still needs to. Still needs to clear the edge of the litter,
Okay.
and then she can get it in the med bay and get him up on the table with the lift.
Okay.
When she gets him
R-
stabilized and a good shot of something to take away some of the pain, we'll go from there.
uh, 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 BAC is somewhere close to 2.4. Not 0.08, but 0.24. A quarter of his blood is alcohol. No, it's 2.4%.
She,
It's a lot.
uh,
For
I don't know. Do we have
three times
anything that could
three times the
counteract
legal limit.
that?
Yes, just fluids and leaving him in a chair for 4 hours will clear it. But
Okay, well I have him on the med bed,
yeah,
and so I'll put him at intravenous drip and get him
yeah,
fluids
yeah. All
like
right.
saline solution.
Yeah, Raven, the ship does verify that that is the only coordinate that apparently the jump took you from there to this system in particular. But the star system is so far removed that it literally took you out of the known galaxy.
Oh,
Where's Tarkin?
see, that's what I started with. He disappeared. I just don't know where he went. Do you think he stayed because he's the one who flipped the switch? Maybe it didn't just get him. I don't know. Maybe he's stuck, with his soul way the fuck out there, and his
Uh,
body's just kind of laying there. I'm just trying to figure it out.
you'll actually find you'll as I said you'll find him comatose in the doorway to the science lab, headed inward, with a note scrawled on a piece of paper: "Whatever you do, don't touch my tools."
Lovely.
She gets same thing. She repeats it the same thing with him. Gets the grab letter, gets him on it.
Yes.
She's while slender, she's not weak,
There's no
and
there's no obvious signs of trauma in his case. Uh,
yeah,
no, nothing physically wrong with his form. Not even showing any signs of the alcohol that he allegedly drank. So you're not even sure why he's unconscious.
yeah. But I just have to monitor him.
Yep.
She looks at Mob. Well, Mob, are you conscious yet?
No, but I'm getting there.
Okay.
Then just put it back in.
She goes in. Well, Tarkin is in a coma, but there's not a mark on him I can find. And I knew he was drinking, but there's no sign of the alcohol. As for Mob, well, he's floating on alcohol. And it looks like he hit every surface of the inside of the Serendipity Falls as he could possibly hit and still be alive without major injury.
So he's normal. Got it.
Got it.
Oh no, he is bruised. He's got divots in his skull. Like nothing cracked, nothing fractured, went over that, but oh my god, just that he hit so hard that the flesh is kind of like bubbling up around the hit and making it look worse than it is.
After a complete checkout of systems, it seems like every subsystem on board the vessel has gone through a hard reboot. But all of the systems are functional. There doesn't seem to be any loss of capability of the vessel at all.
Well, that's one good thing.
I stopped smoking inside. I'm going to be listening, but from the door, so keep going.
Okay.
So,
Oh,
Well, that makes sense since mob's out, mob's out.
yeah, he's unconscious.
Is there a way to check the system history? I don't know. My computer reboots all the time, and people keep telling me to check the system logs or whatever. So, system logs?
Yeah, system logs indicate that um, the date of transition is normally would have if the full number of digits. In this case, the processing data shows that it is January 1st, 0000. So the
Well,
ship,
I
so the
didn't
ship,
time
the ship rebooted and rebooted everything, including the chronologue. So it has all the points of data indicating that the ship systems were coming back online, but they're all referenced to a null point instead of to the actual previous date.
We don't even know how long we've been out.
Right.
well.
I think we need to set two timers. One, the one we remember our last date at, and one to keep on this new time, which is no time at all. So we at least know an elapsed time. That way, if we ever get back to real time, we'll know how long we were out.
Is the mirror in Raven's room okay?
Um, it's actually pooled in the sink, like a liquid.
Oh, fantastic.
In the sink.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't go down the drain?
Nope.
Good. Then that would have been interesting plumbing repair job. She comes over and says, "How about you? Taking the ill effects?"
Well, if you came to find Raven physically, you'd find her in her quarters, and
Ah.
as soon as you you approach the quarters, a little chirper will let her know there's somebody at the door.
The tripper. Raven, are you okay?
Yeah, perfectly fine. Everything's fine. We're all good here. How are you?
I'm actually okay. Just kind of puzzled. Not only as to where in the heck we've gotten to, but you have a moment?
Yeah,
A lot of them.
a lot of them apparently. Just give me a second.
Okay, she'll come on in.
No, she said to give me a second. So
Oh, give you a second.
yes.
Sorry.
What are you gonna do with the pool?
Put it back on the wall where it belongs.
Okay. So imagine picking up goop that's the color of silver, but the texture of silly putty.
Oh,
Warm silly putty.
come on. You can do it.
Yes, you're spreading it, trying to get it to stick. It's falling over your fingers. You're folding it back over, and finally you just put it up over the ledge so so there's enough weight of it hanging on the top, so that's hanging, draping like a like a wet washcloth.
Yep, pretty much.
Damn it! The good news is it's not dripping. It's not discorporating, but it is hanging weirdly from the edge.
It's a Salvador Dali mirror.
Exactly.
Okay, you can come on in.
And of course she walks. I'm sure you jet across the room to sit someplace completely else, so she's not looking that direction at all.
Nowhere near it.
Okay, so the door opens and Raven's in her quarters already. She's like, "Oh, hi." Yeah.
I'm glad you suffered no ill effects. I still haven't found Sergey, but I'm gonna go looking.
It looks like he's a shapeshifter and just kind of appears out of things.
Talking about weird things, I found myself in an escape pod with my hand on eject and in 6-point restraint.
Well, clearly your lizard brain took over and wanted you to get the heck out of here, so that makes some sense, I guess. And you don't remember doing that, or you do?
Absolutely not.
No, it's probably just your lizard brain.
I mean, the last thing I clearly remember was being in the med lab. But anyway,
Yeah, the ship's computer hasn't been able to compile data to tell me where we are or when.
does it have any reference point?
No, I checked the system logs and they're all reset. January 1st.
What about date time? Do we know how long this thing took us?
No, I have no data right now. I'm hoping for data soon. Data would be great. I haven't tried. I haven't tried checking with once or anything like that. But because I kind of don't really want them to know that we just kind of blipped somewhere.
Okay.
I kind of think they might have a problem with that.
I'll go back and check Tarkin and
So,
Mob and see how
so
they're doing.
do we have like any kind of like astro engineer or whatever you would call it?
Astro engineer, you got what you got to work
Well,
with.
like a like somebody who's good at like navigation.
You got
Like
you got
been
Raven. Raven's been doing okay. We our quote true navigator wasn't here after the second week, so she's been doing the job.
I mean, Raven could pretty much do everything on the ship. She just doesn't enjoy it. So
Mhm.
she likes her gun.
okay.
She likes her guns and she likes to irritate Mob a lot.
No,
Yeah.
not Raven.
No. Yeah.
Raven's such an innocent girl. She would never do anything
Mhm.
ever.
Ever.
So
Never.
The computer verifies that all systems are now nominally online and no systems reporting malfunction.
okay. So we have one point of data.
Yes.
Now, if we, um, I mean, it's as easy as taking that one point, pretending that we're past that point, and then trying to draw an idea of how far we've gone.
Yes. Physical distance traveled 1.1 million light years.
Okay, so what we've done is we've broken the speed of light.
Many times over.
We have we've just about folded space.
Yes. Travel by standard jump drive from here without gate assistance. Travel time roughly 1.1 thousand years.
At
Okay,
the speed of light.
so when we can replicate this, we're going to rule the universe. Is what you're saying?
In theory, you'd have something more valuable than anything else in the system.
You know it.
A craft that can travel that kind of distance in that kind of time would be desired by every known government and every known criminal element on in the entire system.
So we'll never mention what happened.
Are we even sure we're in the right time?
And we're good. Okay, we're good.
Well,
He wants to table that part. It's like whoa.
uh,
Well, it would make sense that if no time has passed, like if there's not even a skip in our comparisons of time, however we achieve that.
Well, no, we know that there is at least some variable of time because it took at least some minutes for Jean to make it to the escape pod, and whatever violence bounced you around happened after she was strapped in. So you know there's been a chronology that included you getting bounced around, but not until both Raven and Felicity were actually secured. So there
Okay.
is some actual chronological variable as well.
So what we know is what?
we're 1.1 million miles,
Million light
million
years.
light years away from Alpha Centauri.
No, from Proxima
From
Centauri.
Proxima,
We know we're alive.
we're alive.
Hey,
We can look. We can look for habitable planets or other civilizations, and we come out then work on because we're going to
Vessel,
need
current
stores
current
eventually.
say your current vessel resources will last roughly 3 years, so you've got enough to last for 3 years
Okay.
if you operate on a net standard
so,
regimen.
so first things first, can we replicate that again to get back?
Do we want to replicate that again, given how
Yes.
really horrible you look right now?
Yes.
You're
Yeah.
every color of the rainbow.
I can strap myself down. You know, maybe it was just the fact that we weren't expecting things to do what they did. I don't remember what that was, but it was something. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Two things. Unfortunately, with the total reboot of the system, we can't even be sure what the dials were set on when we jumped. We don't know what direction we are.
Well, we have computers. They have copies and records, so it's fine. It's not. That's not. That's the concern is can we get back if we
You gotta
want?
remember the coordinates.
I mean,
Okay.
we can do all kinds of stuff. It's just somewhere in between all of this and while we're doing it, let's kind of get an idea of how we're getting back.
Okay, so you are in orbit around a solar body. The
Huh?
system brought you into a stable orbit somehow during the transition. So you are orbiting a sun.
Yeah. Let's let's put out the sensors and long range sensors, see if we can pick up anything.
Well, there are 9 planetary bodies, probably 40 dozen planetoids, and 2 asteroid fields. One inner orbit about 1 AU to 1.5 AUs from the solar body, and the other 15 solar AUs out.
Oh, it's a large 15.
Well, 15 AU is about where Jupiter is.
How many planet-sized bodies?
I said 9.
Okay, we've got enough like probes and UAV things to pretty much map every planet in this system pretty fast.
Yes, you
Let's
could
get
you just hit a button and launch a survey. Yep.
let's get on that. And,
Any special things you want to look for in the survey, Raven? Since you're the one actually triggering the launch.
I would assume we want to know coordinates of where we are, if there's any data on the solar body that we're orbiting. Just in general, star chart.
Right, right. Uh, as the computer starts crunching on that information, the first thing it will tell you is that it is a G-type star, standard period, so similar to to Sol itself. There, because of the fact that there's no data available on this sector. Literally, you're in a separate sector of space. There's not any mapping of the specifics of the stars, and there's no standard deviation among them. So it's not like you can, if you look at a star map and then project it over time, you can kind of figure out where the stars will be. But there's nothing that gives us enough data to determine exactly where you are.
Can we send out a probe to map it?
You'd have to have.
Such while we go about something else.
Sure. You can start working on that.
We want this, Mob. We want this. Before we jump back, we want this.
all right.
You want what?
Survey.
A map of the star system.
Oh, I
survey.
totally agree with you.
yeah, the system will tell you that in order to accomplish that, you need to have uh, direct data on 10,
I
10 solar bodies to be able to map out the entire quarter, the entire segment
I mean,
sector.
that egg, it looks like there's
Meaning I
something.
need
It
to
was.
have
It was.
Hang on a second.
I accidentally knocked those auto those things, and I was just too tired to. Yeah. I'm
Where's
sorry.
my button?
And,
Where's my button? There's my button. Poor
There we
girl.
go.
so I have to send probes out to.
You guys have to visit. Basically, in order to be able to map out the entire quadrant, you need to map 3 physical locations. That'll give you a plane, plus a 4th to give you enough data to see what the expansion rate of the local stars are, and then possibly trajectory, reproduce how the system came to be.
What's the ETA on that? Like, how long does that take?
Well, each one's going to take at least a standard day to process, so that's at least 4 days plus travel time between the stars. And since there are not known jump coordinates, you'll actually have to travel in subspace at least for the first 2.
Well, we've got enough probes where we can just kind of send them off right now.
Probes don't have enough fuel to make it to other stellar systems at
Well,
the
I'm not
same
worried
time.
about stellar. I'm just about this system.
Oh,
This
this no, no, you no. I said you can do. You'll be able to map this entire solar system in one day. That's
Okay,
not
yeah, that's what I was wanting to
okay.
do.
Okay, I thought you were saying you wanted to map out the stellar coordinates, and that would be having to
No,
know.
no, no. I
Yeah, you want to know what you got to work with. Sure,
because I need to. I don't really know anything.
sure. The quick and dirty of it is that within the first hour or so, you will know that there is at least one body um, in the primary system. So, planet number 4 is in the Goldilocks zone. So there's a possible place to live if you had to there. Additionally, after the third hour, you'll also have that one of the moons of one of the gas giants, planet number 7, also has its own planetoid in Goldilocks zone of its orbit. So you have potentially 2 habitable systems. The gas giants here do seem to be of standard consistency, which means you'll be able to gather fuel by doing low passes with the scoop. So you'll be able to get additional fuel for the engines.
So, okay. So we're self-sustaining now. That's good.
Sure.
So,
You guys had to change my fan setting. Thank you, Travis. Didn't realize it was loud. You guys should let me know if I'm making too much noise. Just as bad as Steven.
It's one thing to to be looking for an alien civilization or even a new civilization that we had not discovered before. It's another thing to contemplate starting a new civilization. She says with a laugh. I hope to get home,
yeah.
but I'm going to enjoy this while we go.
One other note is that the innermost planet, which is dangerously close to a collapsible orbit, which means it's fairly tenuous and a little unstable, um, seems to register the highest count of palladium ever discovered. So from a metals standpoint, you guys are technically rich if you can find a way to mine that thing.
Wow, that would
Yep.
be a challenge.
But it's not a challenge. All you have to do is just find engineers that are good enough to figure it out. And then you're rich. Rich.
Sure, we haven't even found signs of life yet, let alone
But,
an
but
engineer.
you're still rich. See,
I,
rich.
don't-
I thought you wanted to leave this.
I do like your enthusiasm for it, but
Still rich.
unrealizable wealth is no wealth at all.
Oh, I'm realizing it's wealth. And so therefore,
I'm
no.
rich.
I can realize a lot.
Well, I couldn't realize this much. This, we're rich.
It's too bad we couldn't well, we're not strong enough. Getting into a more stable orbit.
Oh no, you're perfectly fine. You're orbiting out basically
I'm
beyond the.
talking about the little planet that's in an
Oh,
unstable orbit.
oh,
Mm.
we're gonna strip that thing so fast that's not even gonna be fun.
Okay.
At the 6th hour, you do get indications that the atmosphere of the inner habitable planet is about a 75% match to terra firma.
Anything gonna kill us in it?
No, but it has a high content of nitrous oxide.
Laughing gas. How fun.
Is that a good
Okay,
thing?
it's not necessarily. Um, it,
What Raven said is correct. It's going to make you giggle if you breathe too much of that air.
I love to laugh. I mean, come on.
the problem is laughing uncontrollably kind of interferes with shall we say normal functioning.
True.
Breathing.
But maybe we could find a way to filter it out. Let me think about that.
Yeah, that's good. Yes, because I mean, we're not gonna make this home. This is
No,
this is home base.
yeah. Have,
Okay.
Yeah.
have we picked up any electronic emanations at all?
Uh, yes, there is a pulsar within a couple of thousand astronomical units of here that is beeping with binary precision as you would expect. But that's the only electromagnetic signature that you're picking up within reachable space by your systems.
Oh,
But
That
the prognosis from the system does suggest that with breathing apparatus alterations, you could operate on the planet's surface, which we haven't yet even named, for um a term to be somewhere over 3 or 4 months before you'd run out of the necessary gases to counteract the.
I
okay.
say, I say we name it Tarkin because he didn't get his name.
Yeah, and the laughs on him.
Okay, so oh, there's a pun. There we go. Uh, it's hereby called Planet Tarkin. Tarkin 3 could be technically you'd be naming the star and therefore the
Oh, the
planet.
star will be Tarkin too. Then we'll name the planets like one, two, three.
Right, that's standard until the local populace changes it or whatever.
Yeah,
But Tarkin 3 it is. No, Tarkin 4. I said 4. I said 4.
yeah. One is the unstable,
Yep.
wobbly orbit of the. Uh, what substance was that again?
Palladium.
Palladium. I think it's kind of like an important industrial metal.
Okay. Yes. Alrighty. So you've mapped out this system. One interesting anomaly is that there seems to be a geological formation on that Tarkin 4 that suggests there might have been, if it's not an indication of sentient life, at least an indication of something completely different biologically, in that there is a formation on the surface that, on initial pass, looks like a seven-pointed star on the
Hmm.
ground, and the coverage distance is something like 4 or 5 miles across.
Maybe we run that probe out there again and have it take a closer look. It's a strange shape though,
But,
because you can't evenly divide a circle by thirds and halves or quarters to get it.
it's not. We'll have to check it out.
Okay. And on the second pass, it takes another couple hours. But when the data comes back from that, it does appear that there are structures built at the 7 primary points, and that there are grooves or roads roughly a quarter of a mile across between those 7 points to create the star-like effect.
Yeah, I think that closer examination would be good with one of the more detailed probes, oriented probes. Oh, water. That's a big thing. Water.
Water does exist. Roughly 14% of the surface has water.
Not, certainly
That's not
isn't
that
a
much.
water world.
What was that?
Sorry, Raven.
I didn't say anything.
Was that Olivia that said something?
I just said that's not a lot of water at
No,
all.
14% is not a lot of water.
Yeah, we're like 67%.
So, like, how much of it is like potable?
That would take, and actually, you'd have to have a planetary.
Sample.
You'd have to get, yeah, you'd have to do a planetary scan. You'd have to send something to the surface. So far, you've just doing it with near passes.
Then we'll send a probe down to the surface. We are a research ship. We
Sure,
can do this.
sure.
And like,
And
Are
you
we?
would, by this time, you would have also positioned your vessel within the system to get better readings faster. So you're more than likely in orbit around Tarkin 4.
Yeah, sounds good.
Um,
That's Raven's job.
initial contact with well, let me ask you this. There's the primary water source is um, about 10%. There's one inland ocean, if you will, and then there seems to be a possibly a spring high up in the mountains that feeds it, and that is the second largest body of water, which is about 0.5%. The rest is tributaries off of that primary river. So literally, it's one river and one ocean. That's all that's left on this little world. Uh, the water system does check out at being a 98% match to Terran water with the extra percentage in salts. So desalination would make it potable.
Okay.
Unless you need your electrolytes, in which case, just leave it.
It might be why the planet's dead, is because they irrigated with Gatorade, because it's got electrolytes.
Okay.
that's a movie.
I know, it's totally a movie reference. Blasto. It's got what your body needs.
Terry Crews is the president. Oh,
What?
But no sign, no active signs of life. No. So the system does suggest that there are biological elements in the water itself. Some form of phytoplankton. So the water does have kind of a greenish look against the barren, brownish gray of the planet's surface.
lovely.
And those 7 architectural points, which are basically on the opposite side of the world from the lake.
That doesn't make sense. I mean, you'd think that everything that was built would be close to potable water. You would think, unless it's just something else, like a signpost or a signal.
On the sly. Well, not on the sly. Fine. Who cares? Hey, Raven. 4 barrels. 4 barrels of water from that lake on board before we get to that place.
Okay.
Okay.
Just to make sure.
So you're collecting 4 bottles of the electrolyte-laden liquid, or desalinate. Drums.
Drums.
Okay.
You never know. Maybe
Right.
whatever's on the other side doesn't like this water.
Gotcha. So you send down a siphon and canisters, and about an hour and a half later, you've got it. Ha
Ha ha ha.
ha ha. So
Didn't we should skedoodle
right.
to the other side?
All right. So you've got the four barrels are projected to intercept you before you make it into positioning over the star, but now you're basically in geosync orbit over the star pattern, and you notice that from the larger distance you can only see the 7 primary points, but there's an eighth structure directly in the center, and the uh, arcs, the lines between the different of the systems, leave a septagonal roadway around the central structure without approaching it. So
Okay.
there's a septagon circumscribed within the septagonal uh, star pattern. So what's the plan?
Don't know. Do you want to? I mean, we need to get like some drones or something to map out the area before we go down there.
Sure. Each of the structures is a low, flat, again septagonal structure. All of them are approximately the same size. As a matter of fact, data comes in after the first hour or so, hour and a half, 2 hours, that they are identical. The orientation, therefore, the facing of each of them strikes a different of the 7 sides going around. So they all have their points, or their pinnacle is at the top of the shape. If you've seen a septagonal, it has the base is opposite the point. So there's always a point in the base on the opposite side. Triangles circumscribed.
Hmm.
The size of the structure suggests occupation, or if it was created. It's too symmetrical to have been created by nature, and no signs of any life or physical apparent entries to the structures are available from above. You'll have to send a planetary drone pack down to have it do individual readings, and that'll
Yes.
take another 2 or 3 hours. Or
Yes.
you could. Okay, that's what we're doing. All right. Uh,
But while that's going on, I want Raven to figure out the most likely place for the most effective use of violence when we go down there. That way we can, be effective if we need to be.
The most effective use of violence?
Yeah, like the
That would
the
be a
best
laser.
place. So you figured that out. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Right back.
Raven would also like to patch into the science console so that she can at least look at what Tarkin was doing.
yeah.
And since I'm suddenly like doing a lot of sciencey things, she's sitting at her console, so she doesn't really have the ability to run back and forth.
Sure. And when as you patch in, the first thing that'll pop up is a little um, pop-up window that says Raven ... Don't touch my tools! Exclamation point. ... Tarkin.
Love you, Tarkin, but touching your tools.
Okay. Yes, it appears that he was working on something called quantum pylons in his. You don't have any of the details because those files, unfortunately, were locked under his signature, and it'll take you a lot longer to hack into that. But you do know that he was
That's the process.
that and that there are roughly 20 of these pylons in the security bay. I mean, the secured in the cargo bay of the vessel. So he's been working on them for a while. There's no detail on what those pylons do or what they're for, but it's interesting that they are working in quantum realm and have something to do with neutrinos.
Okay.
Um, there's Felicity. There are increased spikes of uh, brain activity coming from Tarkin in the alpha range, suggesting high function memory processing. She still stepped away. She's not back. And the entrances to the structures below are always on the north by northwest facings. So even as they change positioning around the circle, the same quadrant is always the one that has a door, including the central one. So all 8 structures are virtually identical. What next?
Are we in a geosynchronous orbit
You are.
over the star?
Yes.
Is that when he started recording, having alpha waves increase?
Yes.
Okay, she'll hook up something and try to get just record the waves.
Okay.
See if there's any repeating pattern.
Yeah. You're crunching away at that. All right. So you've gotten the description of the structures. They all have entrances on the same north by northwest quadrant of each of the buildings, so all the buildings are identical.
Okay. All right. Hmm. It seems
Suggestion.
to me they have a real thing for 7, but I find it interesting that the door is always in the northeast, regardless of where
North by
the
northwest.
north by northwest, regardless of where the plinth is in relation to the center or the walls. One would think that they might be oriented towards the center, but it's not.
Suddenly, the Scottish army marches across the battlefield. No.
Yes, I know. So did I. We both heard it. The Scottish, the Scottish Suicide Squad approaches.
Uh, in response to that extraneous burst of Scottish Tarkin's body contorts and jolts.
Raven's glad she's not back there. Does the ship's computer have any data on the quantum pylons that are in this? Wherever they are?
There are 3 annotations in the log. Because we no longer have the ship's recorded data from before the reboot, the only thing they can approximate to is roughly the time you were in orbit around Finnegan's planet, the short amount of time you were at Finnegan's Wake, and a little bit of time at the Technicus Prime location. So those 3 locations are approximately analogous to the missing quantum pylons. So in other words, you had 12 and you still have 9.
So what does that mean exactly?
Means that Tarkin placed his quantum pylons at Finnegan's Wake, which was your bar associate, Finnegan's planet, which is what you guys were calling the planetoid, where you found the family, and at the place where you traded away the puppies.
They put one here, obviously.
Okay, but we don't know anything about how they get placed, what that entails, because Tarkin's files are encrypted currently.
Don't worry, I'm running a decryption program.
Yeah.
How did I not know?
Yes, so you'll be able to get that information relatively soon. But you got time to go down and do a visit to the planetary if you wanted. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a fourth one also. That Alliance ring station you guys visited. He put one there as well. So.
So we have 8.
You have 8 left.
Okay.
And the materials are there for him to build more of them. So he was actually creating them in advance of using them, and therefore getting them all tested before he placed them. So, what's your next step, next move?
Have any of our probes brought back information?
Yeah, they brought back, like I said, the consistency of the soil suggests that it would be sufficient for plant life.
Okay, I think I was when we were talking about that. Sorry.
That's okay.
Please.
The structures approximate roughly, using standard biological size equations. The doors of these places are large enough to accommodate somebody up to 7 feet tall, but not much taller. So similar to human size in terms of their and the doors also have a elongated septagonal shape. So it looks like a 7-pointed coffin, each of the doorways. So it's slightly narrower at the foot and slightly and so the space across the bottom is roughly 4 feet. At the shoulder, it might at the center point of the 2 extended arches are about 6 feet, and then it goes back up to a point. And that is record. They do look reminiscent of the ones that you saw on Plateris.
Okay.
Is that a connection?
It is a connection. At least it's significantly similar. You'll have to get into the private files or check your own personal records because the system records, remember, rebooted. So.
Well, given that Raven has been frantically working on a dissertation on Plateris and the
Yes, right.
Is that information that she has?
Mm-hmm. Yep, you're able to do a relatively quick correlation, and they're within 1 percentage point of being exactly the same as the doors on Plateris. Wow. Okay. You got it. All right. So, the gas difference being the atmospheric difference being the only real one between here and the Plateris outpost. The 7-sided structure doesn't match, however. Those doorways do, but the structures, remember, were like more along the lines of human construction in terms of shapes, rectangles rather than septagons. In the data on Tarkin's biological activity, after roughly an hour, his symptoms. What's the word I'm looking for? I lost something there. Yeah, his brainwave activity drops back to nominal. So basically, an hour of frantic neural activity, and then it goes back to back to normal, nominal. Next possibility, next thing you'd like to pursue. Is anybody the probes can only give you information on the externals of the buildings. They're not programmed for entering the interior
This is taking
spaces.
more time than I expected. I'll be back as soon as I can.
Okay, I understand, Gene. It's down to you and me, Raven, at this moment.
Let's see. I've been trying to let other people say things, do things, because I feel like I'm doing everything and I don't want to do that.
I understand. I understand, but at this moment, you're the only one on board that's able to do something. So,
Yay. Okay, so she goes through her research and she finds the information that she was looking for, which I think you just gave. I'm sorry, I'm like trying to piece
yes,
things.
right. Okay,
Um,
so let me clarify. The shapes of the doorways on Plateris were six-sided. These are seven-sided, but they are the same approximate shape, same approximate height.
okay.
So there is a difference on that. But in terms of the height maximums, they are within 1% of each other. So these would be approximately the same size of beings, potentially, as far as at least in terms of height, not
And we're not
necessarily of anything else.
we're not picking up signs of organic life, correct?
Nothing. Right. Right. There is organic life, but it's at the um, microbiotic level. Remember, in the water there was some phytoplankton kind of creatures.
How about other life forms, like specifically something similar to the puppies that we
Right.
found?
Yes, and scanning the entire system wide, you won't find an active life form of that size. Although there does appear to be crystalline formations on the other habitable world around Tarkin 8 and Tarkin 7. Tarkin 7.
Okay. So we've collected the water, correct?
Yes, you have the water.
Is Felicity running tests on that?
Yes, the water is. It's not potable. It's got too much saline content, but there doesn't seem to be anything biologically damaging about it. Um, and she also has extracted some of the biological material to do research on. So she's looking into.
Okay. So at this point, with the data that Raven has available, she would probably try to set Serendipity down on the planet on Tarkin 4, I think is where we're
Yes,
talking.
yeah, we're Tarkin 4. Yes.
Yeah, okay. So she would try to set the ship down on Tarkin 4 and
Well, you also do have, just for clarification, remember this is a frigate class vessel, so you do have uh, small transports to carry you back and forth, so you don't have to actually try to land the ship itself.
okay, then Raven will keep the ship in geosynchronous orbit and take a transport ship down to the planet's surface with
Sure,
a research kit.
sure. And the computer does have access to the shuttle's communication, so if you needed to to refer to the computer, you can do that as well.
Okay.
So it's a
So yeah, she'll suit up
all right.
and take a transport ship down to planet side
Okay.
and
Where you want to land in reference to the formation inside the seven-sided object or as a seven-sided space on one of the buildings or near them? Where do you want to put down?
Um,
Given that the space that it represents is roughly 7.5 miles, 8 miles in circumference, right? Because it's a mile. No, yeah, it's a mile between them. So
set down in the middle of them.
okay, on the central building or beside the central building.
How tall is the central building? 7, you said?
They're each about roughly 4 stories in height.
Stories.
Um, structural integrity is would not it doesn't appear to be sufficient to hold the mass of the ship.
Okay, so next to the building.
Okay. Nearest the entrance or on one of the other sides. Remember, the entrance is on the north by northwest quadrant. So.
Yeah. There.
Okay.
I'm back.
Good. As you say, as you, yeah, Mob,
You're in charge.
you're in charge of the vessel mainly because she's apparently banned a ship. No, she took one of the transports down to the surface by herself. She and the computer. So, she's glad to hear you back at the console because she was like feeling alone. so anyway, she's down on the surface now.
Don't worry, I'm armed.
Thank God.
Yes. All right. So the air is hot and dry. Dust blowing across. Down now that you're down at the surface, it seems odd to be on a planet that is devoid of any life because the terrain feels like it should have grasses and stuff growing on it. The ambient temperature is in the 80s Fahrenheit. The entrance to the structure is an open alcove just over 6 feet wide at the shoulder, so to speak.
Well, she's gonna take some soil samples for sure.
Okay. In taking the soil samples, you do find an extremely high amount of carbon in the system, suggesting that there may have been organic life here at some point, but it seems like it might have been blasted out of existence or burned off.
That's not good.
The fact that it was done down to the molecular level also is rather telling, because even in a regular conflagration, even a planet-wide forest fire, if you would, there would have been identifiable plant fibers and such remaining, and in this case it's all carbon and dust. So the surface must I just realized the surface therefore must look blackened, ashy looking.
Okay. I guess then she'll head into the building.
Okay. As you walk, as you approach the building, the composition of the structure is pitted and marred as if it's been blasted with decades and decades of sandstorms and such. It's not uniform by any stretch, but the patterns of the wind blasting across it are unearthly and yet seem to have some kind of patternism to them. Like the winds might blow from a certain direction for a long period of time to leave a mark like that, a scar or a scratch across the surface, as if something bigger was blown around in the air than just the dust itself.
You have like a Geiger counter or anything to test for radiation?
Sure, radiation tests are nominal, although now that you are within a few dozen feet of the structure, you are picking up a electromagnetic transmission from within the structure. Very, very weak. Wouldn't have been readable from atmosphere.
Okay. Um,
The curves and turns of the structure are all bull nosed, so there's no apparent doors or anything. It's like they built this place to be open all the time. There's no uh, framework or mechanism for doors. Like the idea of a door didn't even exist to them. They built the archways, and they're structurally they have structural integrity. They do maintain the value of the load-bearing walls, but the curves and such suggest that they were built in at creation. So in other words, it wasn't like they built the wall and then cut the doorway out. In other words, the doorway was integral to the way it was built, suggesting it might be modular, that you might be able to build this place in sections or pieces.
okay.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Thank you. What did I miss?
Uh,
Everything.
Raven's planet side,
Ah,
and mobs at the console.
and I'm monitoring patients.
Yes. Well, in particularly patient because Mob went to the deck. So
Yeah. Well, I imagine we eventually found Sergey somewhere.
I haven't seen Sergey yet.
I haven't found Sergey yet.
No.
Damn. Try to take a sensor and see if I can pick up life form.
Oh, that's a good one. Yes, you're picking up two life forms beyond the ones you know about. You're picking up Sergey and another uh, humanoid.
I call Mob. Mob, I think I found Sergey, but there's a second life form unknown on the monitor.
Where is it on the ship?
In the cargo area or in his quarters?
Oh, cargo area sounds good.
In the cargo area.
Both of them, both life forms are there.
Both life forms are there.
All right, time to look at the cameras and let Raven know that we might have stowaways up here.
I'm sorry, did I stowaways?
Oh,
I don't
what?
know. We have two life forms in the cargo bay. It, yeah, I don't know. Something to shoot, maybe.
Okay, do you want more data from planet side or do you want me to come back right now?
How long would it take you to get back?
About the same amount of time it took me to get here, which wasn't long.
Oh, well, then just come on up. Yeah, you can always go back to it.
So
Okay.
she'll gather the stuff, try to take a mental image of where she is in the building.
Sure, and you do have the data on the electromagnetic signature that you did record for
Right.
however long.
She wants to find out what that is.
Right.
Okay. She wants a little bit, she'll get back in the transport ship.
She arms
Yep.
herself with a stun gun
Okay.
and closes in on the unknown.
Sure. Well, you're still picking up Sergey's signal there too, so you're actually
Yeah.
moving towards his life forms. And when you get close enough, you can see Sergey is actually laying atop some of the cargo, like he's protecting it. He's just completely sprawled out over it. But you don't see the other life form anywhere around. You don't see another person. You just see Sergey.
Is the signals coming from where Sergey is? Both.
No, somewhere in the cargo bay though.
Okay. Um. Okay, I found Sergey. He's sprawled over some of the cargo, but he's got his arms wrapped around it like he's, well, either he was thrown there and it looked like he's protecting it somehow, and could be just pure happenstance. I can't imagine him throwing himself on cargo.
Is the lifeline coming from what's in his arm?
No, somewhere else in the cargo bay. It's a single form where he's at.
So you do the same thing you did with Mob. You roll him into the
Yeah, we'll get him up
the
and
hover
settled.
the hover bay bed, and then
Yeah. get him up into med lab and
Okay.
on a table.
About this time, Raven will be on approach with her craft. Um, she does detect something, and that is a small uh, raider type scavenger vessel is attached outside of the cargo bay.
Oh well, this won't do.
And so you land the craft in its appropriate bay, and now we know generally where to head to, and you pass Felicity with Sergei on the way to the med lab.
Raven's already got like weapons just piled on her, like like Linda Hamilton in Terminator 2.
Yep, exactly.
Just use that kind of stuff. She's just on
single-handing the shotgun. Chick, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. That's some arm strength. I used to have one of those, and pump action shotguns don't work like that. I'm sorry. I don't care what movie you're in. That whole single handing a shotgun. That's one buff SOB. I can tell you.
Well, she has a Heckler Koch over and under street sweeper.
Yeah. Nice. All right.
50 drum capacity.
All right. So you find the vessel connection where the scavenger vessel was mounted. It bears the markings of the same company that you had made dealings with to sell the puppies.
Oh, they latched onto us.
Yep, it's a single seat vessel, multifunction atmospheric, so it could actually enter atmospheres. Not dissimilar, I suppose, in appearance to Slave One. The idea of you basically sit in the console, facing outward, and the cargo bay is directly behind you, and then below that are the engines.
Okay.
So you fly through space, looking out the front window, so to speak, and nothing but you, the plexi. Nothing between you and space, but the plexi in front of you. You do find a third subconscious form, female in nature. Again, armed like a scavenger, tool belt, utility devices used for extracting precious cargo, analysis. Yes.
They're unconscious?
Yes, just as unconscious as everyone else.
Raven disarms them.
All right.
Takes off their tool belts and all that stuff and just kind of,
Yeah.
She leaves their clothes.
That's nice to leave some dignity there.
Yeah, but she'll take everything else.
Yep. Ident card says there's several ident cards that the person is carrying, none of which directly match up with the person. So it's like they must have stolen accesses from several different sources. But on the uniform jacket that she's wearing is the name Libby.
Is the name what?
Libby, Libby.
Since you're in a different sector, does Raven have access to like Alliance databases and such?
You still have the data that was on board your vessel that you'd downloaded for.
I mean, if she wanted to run like a background check on Libby or whatever,
it would have been limited to whatever contact your vessel had. So no. But there is a record of the wanted people in the system. So yeah, you'll find her on that list as she calls herself an antiquities liberator.
I call myself a brilliant tactician, so we're all in a world of hurt.
There we go.
I like that.
And navigator?
Now she doesn't. Well, she can navigate, but she's not a navigator. That isn't listed as one of her characteristics.
No, I'm more of a securities officer, so I'm a little bit pissed that we have stowaways here.
Yes. Well, it wasn't a stowaway. It looks like something that happened possibly during the point,
jump.
The points just before the null jump. Yeah.
At least they got knocked out too.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, can I scan the computers on their ship?
Ah, there we go. They are also encrypted, but arguably their encryption won't be nearly Tarkin's level of tech. So yeah, you'll be able to you'll be able to
1, 2, 3, 4. Got it.
yeah, exactly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have to change the combination on my luggage. Uh, yeah, the vessel apparently is a acquisition, and there is actually a contract in the system for the musical instruments. It includes physical images of those musical instruments.
Hmm?
You remember the odd musical instruments you found on Finnegan's Planet?
Oh,
I do not remember these. There has been drinking between then and now, so I don't really remember.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, there was a odd musical instrument
There's
amongst the things we found.
a bunch of odd things. One of them looks a little bit like a guitar. One of them looks a little bit
I think
like
I vaguely remember,
an
but
ocarina. Yeah, they look like musical instruments, but there's no fingering holes and no way for air to pass through them. So they're like inert pieces, but there are I think four of them.
Yeah. Hmm.
Oh, and then finally, yeah, there was another one that was a toroid infinity symbol, like a twisted donut, literally a Mobius strip, if you will.
that I remember.
Yeah.
Uh, Felicity does call out. I've got Sergey stabilized. Is he in a coma?
Yep, just as deep as Tarkin's.
Any alpha waves activity?
Not at this point, no.
Okay. Uh, anyway, I've got him on a monitor, both he and Tarkin. Tarkin is actually having some higher level alpha functioning going on, and I'm recording it, uh, trying to see what's doing it, but nothing right yet until I get some more data. Raven, what have you? Did you find
Raven's
that?
gonna say you got another body to collect.
I've got another body for you to collect. Isn't it two?
Okay.
Oh no,
Uh,
one was Sergey.
Oh, okay. One was. I thought you had mentioned that there was like a second in addition to the other one, but okay.
No.
Yes, I've got a body. I have another body for you to collect. This one I think is criminal. Maybe we should cuff her.
okay, I can put restraints on the bed. There's restraints for if
Criminal
somebody gets
zapper.
violent.
Okay. Yeah, when you get there, by the way, Raven is still stacking stuff into a crate. All the weaponry. The girl was armed like to the teeth, so
Oh,
Raven's yeah. He's going, oh, those are nice. Like that belt.
I
That'll
don't
go
even know what it does, but hey.
exactly.
Okay, if you'll help me, we'll get her. Her? It is a her, right?
Yep.
Okay, we'll get her into the mid bay and see what gives.
All right.
I
Um,
can't figure out how she got into the ship.
oh,
I'll figure it out. Don't worry.
oh no, you saw it, Raven. You saw her
Oh,
vessel. Remember, when you came in, there was the scavenger vessel mounted
right.
outside of.
It's mounted outside, but how did she get into the ship?
Oh, she bored a hole. You can see right there where literally she was. It looks like she was in the process of making the theft when the whatever the occurrence was that knocked her out happened. She
Okay.
does show the same kind of bruising and such that Mob did, so she was not able to hold
Secure.
herself down. But I should clarify that Sergey was he'd actually used cargo straps to mount himself to the cargo that he was protecting. So you had to
So
unsecure
I
him.
wasn't the only one that seemed to. Anyway, when she gets there, yeah, she would have noted that he was
Right.
strapped there. So in her own mind, she's thinking, I wasn't the only one that seemed to react to this thing with unusual preparation or unexpected preparation. Um, so we get the girl on the thing. She
Yep.
gets back. Thank goodness we're not on the old ship. I wouldn't have had enough room for three patients.
Yep. So you wheel her in, and now your med bay is full.
Yeah, it is.
Nobody
I'd have
else
to,
nobody else can get hurt now because all my beds are taken.
yeah,
Whatever you do, maintain your social distancing. 'Cause can't afford any COVID cases now.
absolutely not. Let's see, how far am I away from Jesse?
Well, Jesse's up at the
Oh no, I'm talking about in real miles. Where does he live?
Jesse lives in the Midwest, right? Texas? No, where do you live, Jesse?
Kansas City.
Huh?
Kansas City, he had said earlier.
Yeah, that's right, Kansas City. Yeah, yep,
Okay, that's about 1,500 miles, I would say,
yeah,
maybe.
something like that.
From
Can't,
Disneyland, we'll take it. I'm a mile and a half from Disneyland, by the way the crow flies.
yeah. So yeah, he's a good distance from us.
Yep.
Yes.
Alrighty.
And Raven, where do you
Yes.
live?
Los
Approximately.
Angeles.
L.A.
Oh,
In
LA.
LA Harbor.
Oh, L.A. Harbor, so Oceanside area.
Oh, you're not that far away.
Not Oceanside, San Pedro.
Oh, San
No,
Pedro.
no, San
Okay.
Pedro.
Oceanside's in San Diego.
You're less than 40
That,
miles
I said
away.
that wrong. Yeah, I said that wrong.
Yeah, I used to have an annual pass to Disneyland. I used to go all the time.
Yeah,
Mhm.
me too.
Me too.
It's been a long time, though, even
Alrighty.
though it's so close.
Sadly, I've never been able to go to Disney.
Oh, well, when you come out here to visit us, we'll take you to Disney, no matter what, Olivia.
Okay.
All right? Well,
The story I have to tell about Disney is a really sad tale. When I was 14, my folks drove us from Phoenix to come out to Disneyland, but my dad had no idea what it cost to go to Disney, so he spent the money that we were going to be using to go to Disney to stay the night at a hotel. And so when he got to Disney, he couldn't afford to take us into the park, so he drove around the outside and then drove back to Phoenix.
Oh no.
So I pledged that if I ever lived close enough to Disney to go, by God, I was going. If somebody was going, I'm going. So I will never let that happen to anybody else, even if I have to go into Hawk to buy other people tickets. If we're going, we're all going. Damn it! I'm not gonna let that happen. That's one of my saddest memories. And it wasn't even sadness for me because I was kind of okay with it because my folks had already made a lot of similar goofs in my life, but it was my littlest sister who loved Minnie Mouse and wanted so bad to go, and I was 12 and she was 6 at the time. So you imagine a
she was
6-year-old.
devastated.
Yeah, it was.
There's no reasoning with a sad 6-year-old.
No. So I said to myself, this will never happen to me and my children. So although it cost me dearly for the whole of the time that I had kids in Southern California, we all had annual passes all the time and no blackout days. I had to buy the big one because I didn't want to ever have a day that they couldn't go. So I feel your pain, Olivia. We definitely need to get you to Disney at some point because it is an experience. So.
Yeah.
Yes. Not as big as Disney World, but it is a fine, fine place. You can't see it in a day, so, you know. You can't do it all in a day. No, you can't do it all in a day.
Well, she's closer.
Isn't there some notes out there by Disney?
Here in California, everything is by Disney. There's Knott's Berry Farm. There's Six Flags, which is still in the valley, although at the other end. Universal City.
Studios.
Universal, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, so there's.
It used to be the aquarium.
Oh yeah,
too.
Medieval Times is right around the corner. There's also a pirate one I haven't gone to, but I've heard is pretty good, where they do the jumping and the swinging and the swashbuckling from the rigging and stuff, all on stage. It's pretty impressive.
Nice.
Travis says nobody goes there. So it's a story I've heard, but I've never been there. So, but yeah, there's lots to do in California.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a theory. If you come to California and spend more than 6 weeks, you can never leave, because everybody I know that's ever come here just eventually comes back to live. So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, not to
Even
mention
with the current political people in charge.
Not to mention the true culture places like Griffith Park and the observatory and
Yep.
why can't I think of it right this second? The Getty, one of my favorite places. The Getty Museum.
The Getty Museum.
What's that?
The Getty Museum? Oh my goodness!
Oh,
It's on the 405 going north out of L.A. J. Paul Getty, with all of his millions, built a museum and park at the top
Hmm.
of the valley that gives the best view of the L.A. coastline of anywhere.
Oh
yeah,
wow.
it's a beautiful place.
Yep. You could go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Matter of fact, Travis is rattling them off in the chat, so
Where's Travis?
he's in the chat.
He was.
Um, yeah. So we are we now have the extra body on board, and
I
um,
will check her out and just give her the whole once over.
yep, she's malnourished somewhat, as you would expect from somebody in the scavenger line of work. She does have alliance certifications, so she does have the ability to transmit commerce back across the inward sphere, spinward inward spinward lines she can cross over and make trade on either side of the line. So she's more than likely done work for inward companies as well.
Okay, what she'll do is not only besides the saline solution and with vitamins and minerals and nutrients.
Right, right. Uh, she uh, she does, as I said, have a contract for those musical instruments
Yeah, well,
that some one of the corporations is wanting them.
payment on delivery.
Of course, they don't pay in advance. They may have
Well,
given
then,
her some form of a stipend, but whatever it was, she didn't have enough to buy a decent meal or even decent clothes.
well, her lot now is in with us.
Yep.
She expects ever to see anywhere near home again. Anyway, so that's her job, and she's busy watching over them. We're gonna have to get that ship. Is that ship small enough to go in our cargo bay?
It's a lot. It's attached outside the vessel. It was actually. It's a.
I know that we're gonna have to find a way to unattach it.
I mean, I could blow it up.
Well, we need to patch the hole first. What's that? Is it jump capable?
Huh.
Oh,
Maybe.
the little vessel. Yeah, it's capable to use jump gates. It doesn't actually have a jump drive.
Okay. Well, maybe we could keep it attached, but I don't like the idea of a hole in the hull.
Well, and you also don't necessarily want to try to jump with another vessel attached. It's going to throw off all your calculations.
Um,
Has Raven been able to hack their system and
Yep, like hack her vessel. They hack the little vessel. Yeah, I told you that was actually easier to do than Tarkin's. So you're able to get into her data. Remember, that's how you got that she has a job and that she wants those musical instruments in particular.
oh, I thought that I found that somehow else.
No,
Okay.
it also gives a chronology, which is somewhat helpful, indicating that her arrival would have approximated about the time that the first of the puppies made descent towards the core of that stellar body.
hmm.
So she had some time to work before you guys left.
So she jumped with us to Plataris
Yes.
and back.
Yes, she jumped with you to Plataris and then tried to steal the item while you were in that orbit before Tarkin scrambled the numbers and pushed the button.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad.
Just as fucked as we are.
Yes.
Yep, she certainly is.
Yes. And to further exacerbate the rest of the information on her does become available once you've hacked that, because she actually keeps track of her own record. She's almost proud of the crimes that she's committed. It appears that she's either directly or indirectly responsible for more than 20 different heists.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
No problem. Most of them dealing with high value art pieces. So the musical instruments fits into that kind of a motif, but she's stolen paintings, collections of crystal, etc., etc., etc.
Wow. Busy little girl. Oh, you know that. I don't.
Right. Only Raven knows that right now. So, what else did you need Raven back for, Jesse? I'm sorry, Mob.
To find the person that was actually in the cargo bay.
Yep, we found her.
Done.
Yeah.
Let's interrogate her.
She's not conscious.
She's comatose like the others.
But I have all her things.
Yeah. For clarification, her full name is Libby Vermont.
Libby, Vermont.
Yep.
So she's a place. Awesome.
Nice. No, she's just a survivor, like in Zombieland. She just calls herself after the place she's trying to get to.
Okay.
Well, let's not rush, being too hasty of a rush. Let's take our time, let this lady wake up, and in the meantime, we can survey the shit out of everything.
Sounds good. Oh, by the way, she does slap restraints on her.
Okay.
Hopefully they're chalky ones.
The tough one.
The signal the electromagnetic signal you got that was repeating. Gene, you got your radio.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Raven, the electromagnetic signature that you picked up earlier, your system is crunched through it, and it's a repetitive beacon. Sounds like maybe could have been a rescue beacon, but it's extremely low power. It's like it's on its last legs or whatever. There's no way that a signal that is a request for help would have been broadcast at such a short band that deep inside of a structure. It simply couldn't have escaped. So more than likely it's either an alert, like the station itself was getting an alert, or it's an underpowered planetary alert.
Well, she's gonna go back down and follow that signal.
Okay. Going back to the planet, is anybody going with her this time?
I want to.
They need to do so. There's no reason not to, unless you think you're going to die down there. But anyway, so you make it down to the surface, and she basically shows you, retraces the steps as far as she'd gotten into the structure, which wasn't far. Shows the prefab lines suggesting that the structures are modular in design. And the additional time that you had to do research suggests that the entire structure, although it spans a good couple thousand square feet, could have all been loaded into a standard length cargo pod, maybe 45 feet in overall length. So, although the interior walls have a stone rounded look, it appears that they are assemblable from some kind of polycarbonate composite. Also suggesting life form way above what the planet is registering.
Oh, God.
Maybe they're more puppies.
Oh, no. We didn't know what killed this whatever.
So the interior structure is each of the sections of the ship are, of the facility is basically 1/7 of its overall dimension, so that the 7-sided exterior shape. I'm trying to do this so you guys can see it on the screen. The 7-sided shape. Each section is a spiral curve towards the center, so that there is a central open space, and each of the others has two entrances, one near the outer rim and the other inside, and you literally have to walk into the middle from the one and then out to the other spirals to get to the different sections of the station, if you will. And when I say station, that's fairly appropriate. The first one you walk into um, seems to be like a cargo hold space where there are boxes and crates and tubes uh, stacked around like it was literally the middle of a day when it's shut down. Once you get to the central core, there is a raised platform, seven-sided, with each of the sides being an in-leaning trapezoid. So there is a seven-sided top, and on the seven-sided top is a, um, for lack of a better term, a faceted gemstone-like object, and that upper portion, which is less than a half an inch thick, is glowing with a pale blue eminence, and that is the place from which the electromagnetic signature is being broadcast. Um, the other segments going around, one of them looks like crew quarters because it's got these platforms mounted to the walls, three deep, in groups of two. So there's enough for 30, 35 people to be maintained in the structure. Around the next wing appears to be some kind of a food processing place with large tables and chairs. The chairs are tripodal in nature, with the singular leg in the back thicker by twice or three times what the other two legs are, and the back leg slopes somewhat to give a more reclined positioning if you sat in them. The next of the wings must have been some kind of an entertainment center. There are tables and weird spheres and blocks and unknown devices that would be used for some kind of, I don't know, entertainment gameplay or something like that. And the next appears to be uh, an area for music, in that the seating is along one wall, 2 rows thick, and then on the other end is a raised platform, so that you could actually perform in front of a crowd that could accommodate up to the 35. So it's probably also acted as their conference room. And the next section would be what looks like research with panels, tubes, maybe 3 inches tall, half an inch wide, little racks like a chemistry lab kind of a setup.
Okay, and this, from what I'm gathering, this whole structure is collapsible, right?
It looks like you could take it apart, yes.
I guess we need to check out the signal.
Okay, we recorded the signal, and after recording it this second time, it is the same signal repeated over and again.
So the crystal is some kind of machinery.
Yeah, well, it's attached to the machinery portion. Yeah, you
I
could
say
try.
grab the crystals and toss them to Felicity and see if she can analyze them.
Okay, so you go to lift that up, and it takes some effort, but you're able to kind of wiggle, and it actually pops free, and when it does, the light goes out, and the signal stops.
Good, that signal was getting annoying.
Um, Felicity calls down. If you guys have a body camera, I wouldn't mind getting this on recorded.
This all would have been. You guys have already shown that technology earlier, so yes, you have that. So
Yeah.
you're able to
Okay.
watch. You're able
Fine.
to watch what they're doing from above.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to be down there, but my job is in med bay.
Oh yeah, especially with 3 people down. So
Yeah.
all right.
Let's bring the crystal back up and.
No. What's interesting here is that despite it looking like an active center, you have found no life forms, no things to have used this setup. There's no people here.
How about checking those boxes and see, or those containers to see what might be in them? I mean, we might be able to learn something more by the contents of what they were either gathering or bringing down.
Like I said, I'll let Raven do that. I don't mind.
He was going to go to the lab and grab
Yes, Captain, we understand.
Raven's like, what? Another job? Wait. You're working above your pay grade again, Raven. Working
I
above your
know.
pay grade.
I think you should get paid for two positions.
He'll start paying her in palladium once he starts his mining operation.
Amen.
All right. Well, she'll, I guess, whimper a little bit. She's like, the lab, and then go through the boxes and see if there's anything in those.
Okay, so the different carts and canisters and containers do have. There's no external writing on them per se, which is odd. You would think that if you had something, you'd at least have to mark where it came from or where it was going or what's inside. But there doesn't seem to be any. But when you go to move the first one, your hand comes across a portion of the surface that is abraded. It's got a texture difference from the rest of it. You couldn't notice it before you touched it. When you go to move it, there's a part of the panel that's tactile.
It has been Raven's experience that that is a bad thing.
Yes. So she's going to call for Mob. Mob, what do we do with this?
Um,
It's got ridges. Thing's got
Yeah.
ridges.
research. That's all we can really do. Take it with us.
Yeah, Jesse, you remember that you did have a. I'm sorry, Jesse, Mob. You do remember that one of your associates, known as Blind Louie, used to have books that were written in dots.
Oh, I mean like Braille. Yeah.
Yeah, like Braille.
All right.
Exactly like Braille.
And then let's take the Braille with us.
Well, that's on all the boxes. Every single container has something marked on it this way.
Okay.
That's
Um,
fun.
Load it into the ship, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it quarantine it, of course, to make sure it's not going to kill us. And
Are you discussing this so I can hear?
yeah, obviously, Gene. Yes.
open
Okay.
call.
I was just wondering. I didn't want to
Yeah.
something.
No, you hear them say they're going to be loading up all the cargo from the cargo bay down there and bringing it up.
You know, it might be there's no windows in all those towers, are there?
Nope. No windows.
There are no
It
windows.
might be a race that doesn't have visual senses. Then they rely on tactile information. They might be extremely sensitive to such a thing.
You know, there's this old movie I saw that had creatures that lived in the darkness, and that was the only way they could see. And
Yeah.
they would attack, but you had to stand right between their eyes so they couldn't see you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I
Not
know Riddick.
Yes.
I know
Not
Riddick.
not on. Yeah, exactly. And Riddick. There's another one. What also is noted is that once you got that information, the computers, the computer says analysis of the initial imagery suggests that similar ridgings are found on the door frames of the facilities. So
Oh.
they use the same ridges literally in the wall structure. Remember those weird patterns on the outside that you thought might have been caused by the wind? It appears it isn't. It's some kind of intelligent,
Communication.
sentient communication.
If these are modular, can we just break them down and take one with us?
Sure.
Well, before we do that, because this whole thing right here might collapse in on itself and might be like a Russian nesting doll, where you could just kind of hit a switch and it all gathers up together.
Well, I wanted to go to the lab and see if there's any research notes.
Okay.
Okay, so you found, yeah, you go to the lab section, and what you find of note there are tiny triangles. They're acute triangles. acute at one angle and
Mhm.
equilateral in nature. So acute equilateral triangles.
An equilateral triangle is always acute.
Yeah, but they're not. I rephrase that. Let me rephrase that. Not equilateral. They're acute. But what do you call it when they can be bifurcated by a right angle?
Oh, um,
Isosceles. Isosceles.
isosceles triangle.
That's what it's getting at. My bad. Wrong terminology.
That's
So,
okay.
so sharp angled isosceles triangles, and a quick comparison will allow you to note that if you put 7 of them together, it creates a single 7-sided shape. So the
Oh,
internal
so if you rotate the points in, they
yeah,
all come together as the solid
right.
seven a polygon of 7 sides.
Yes.
Okay. Mm,
A septagon, if you will.
yep, septagon.
And there are probably 300 or 400 of these triangles.
Hmm.
Oh,
Wow.
And
Load 'em up.
Yeah. Pack it up. Okay. The next thing to note is that in addition to those, there is a device that looks like
Everything that you had on the counter here, the
Mhm.
baking stuff, is on that counter.
the. You guys ever see the old TV antennas where it was just a circle that you sat on top of your TV, and supposedly that was going to pick up the signal of radio band? Well, it's like that, only it's a 7-sided wire frame, and it looks like you could put the you could put the isosceles triangles inside of the frame, and when you do that, it holds them together. So it's kind of like the equivalent of the book frame by which you would attach the pages to make a book. And each of the triangles is covered with very fine ridging and bumps, if you will.
so they're books of some kind.
Yeah. Looks like any 7 of them put together creates a database, if you will, of information, and contextually they have to be put together in specific orders to get specific information. Otherwise, it's nonsense. It's physical encryption, basically.
Oh Lord. Okay. We have smart people for this. That's good.
And with more than 300 units, there's quite a number of potential ways they could be put together. So, an infinite amount of information, so to speak, in that small space.
So we've just reached Nikos in the future. I see.
Or the past. Could be the past.
Could be.
If there's colors everywhere.
No, these are all uniformly gray. There's no coloration at all to these.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Well, we can take what we can. You know,
Okay.
we've got really good big ships. So
Yeah, you could feasibly, now that you know that they can come apart, you can attempt to disassemble them. You don't see any of the magic buttons you were talking about that would collapse the unit en masse, but it does look like they are disconnectable. And by looking at the way that triangle, that septagon framework works, gives you a key to how to disassemble the units as well. So once you have messed around with some of their technology, it's like ours. Some of the stuff kind of matches together. The very concepts of a hair clip for a woman's hair is exactly the same as a connector for 2 sections of a vessel. Can be latched together with a latch that's not too dissimilar from the way a hair bow mechanism works.
okay.
So you have determined that you can indeed take apart this structure if you so desire. What you do find interesting is that they hard mounted 7 points to the ground, and those 7 points are what hold the structure down. And so the material that it's made out of is nigh unto indestructible, but it is fairly lightweight to work with once you disconnect it from the base. It's kind of like a pop up, if you will, that could be protected from being torn apart by the wind.
So this is basically a modular city.
It is a modular facility, whether it's a city or outpost or whatever, that's yet to be fully determined. The distance between the buildings kind of makes it not likely to be a town because it's over a mile from this point to each of the outer points, and the points between them are something less than a mile between them. So
And now I'm also assuming that if this thing had power, it would also look probably a lot different.
no, doesn't seem like it would look much different. As far as power, the only thing you think of is that if that one crystal was glowing kind of a blue color, if that's their, if you will, visual range, if they have any at all, there'd be more blue lights, but you can't really determine that until you find a power source for it. The only thing that you know that might have been the power source is that crystal that you've sent up for analysis.
Okay.
Gene, once you have that crystal, what would be your primary intent of looking at it? Are you looking at it for biological or non-biological characteristics first?
And then, so my first assumption is it's mineral,
Okay.
but quite honestly, she will go over it with a bio scan.
Okay. So bioscan does suggest that it does have carbon composition at some level, but it's negligible. It's less than 0.5% of the overall mass, but it does appear to have a interconnectivity that seems to reflect biological origin. In other words, they're not uh, symmetrical, they're not uniform, but there are different places within the overall bluish crystalline structure where there are carbon molecules linked in bunches and bundles, similar to the way.
Interspersed throughout it.
Yes, and they're not uniformly dispersed, but rather seem to be following like a thready network within the crystal, the bluish
Okay,
crystal itself.
she'll map it the best as she can with the 3D. She'll
Sure.
she'll scan it in the 3D going around it.
Right, using like an MRI or whatever to try to
Yeah.
get a third effect. Okay, as you're going through that process, um, you there's a scratching feeling on the back of your head. It's like what incongruous. Like, why do I feel that? And you scratch your head, and as you scratch your head, the feeling goes away, but the blue glow for just a microsecond returns to the object. So as you're scratching, you see the blue light turn on. As soon as you stop scratching, the blue light goes out.
He reaches back and scratches her head again.
Doesn't seem to have any direct effect.
Okay. She
Uh,
records it.
right.
Okay.
And you find that 2 or 3 different times during the process, as you're doing your scan and you're moving it around, seemingly whenever the electromagnetic force of the scan gets anywhere near the center core of this crystalline object, you feel the need to scratch the back of your head.
Okay.
I mean, like,
She again, each time it happens, she notes it,
mm-hmm.
and then she'll correlate it to the scan.
And when you scratch, it does respond. It does light up.
Crystal responds when I
Yep.
scratch my head after it makes me itchy. Wow. Okay. Right now, it's all observation and recording. You know.
Yep.
The other thing is she looks at Tarkin to see if is he's making to the alpha waves.
Nope, there's been no change in his status or that of the other two.
Okay.
Hmm.
Darn.
Okay, so without the
Yeah.
without the crystal on the central pod, disassembly of the facility would look like it would be pretty simple. What you want to do, Mob?
I don't know what to do. I want to kind of try to keep the structure intact, but
Well, you haven't investigated any of the others. This has only been the first of the structures. You can assume that the others are similar in nature, but they might be different in composition.
well, then we're gonna have to. I guess we're gonna have to investigate all of them.
Okay.
Um,
So I'm going to go ahead and what I'm going to do to make it easier for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and post in the Discord under today's episode name. Let me pull that up real quick. Da, 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 da. Yeah, under Serendipity Falls, I'll put uh, the functions of the 7 buildings, and I'll put it from the center one first, and then the others shortly thereafter.
Something new.
Mhm.
7 and one that is not 1.
Security is to the north. To the northeast, north by northeast is um, give me another 3 seconds here. Mm, all right. So I've listed them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. So command and control in the center, security straight north, hydroponics north by northeast, community unity south by southwest. Uh, I'm sorry, southwest. Sorry, southeast. Research and discovery south by southwest. South by southeast. Arts and music south by southwest. Physical and spiritual north. I'm sorry, west, and history and evidences basically as the entry passageway, as the uppermost. So the reason why you're able to discover this is by this time you've also been able to extrapolate the symbols on the door frames of the buildings and come up with not a full understanding of their language, but the basics of what they are. These are apparently portable research facilities, and looks like this one may have failed by some other cause. something interfered with its operation.
Well, then I guess we should analyze that and figure it out.
And we have all the information from research. So with that in mind, security or command should be the next step.
Well, you're in the command center. That's although this facility emulates the other locations internally, it is by itself the command and control facility. It has to do with that console in the center that you removed the signal generator from. You'll also find that each of the other structures also has a similar, um, if you will, battery / memory unit, but they are all grayed out. The only one that was functioning at all was the command and control one.
Like each
The prisms,
each building has these rooms in it, but one of them is its central focus.
No, so the central building has one branch for each one. The other buildings basically have housing and modules that match their purpose.
Okay. Well, Raven will head over to the security area because. Yeah.
Sure. And with 6 of the 7 units for personnel, that means they housed close to a 200-person garrison. It's 35 people per wing times 6, so 180, 195 persons made up the garrison, if you will, here. The last of the 7 sections is, you would think it would be like their weapons, but what you find here instead are more of those isosceles triangles and a bunch of readers.
Oh.
So maybe 1,500 isosceles triangles in the security wing.
Perhaps some sort of recording disc. And if there's a reader, it might come out with some sort of language. Oh.
Well, you've already started the rudiments of that from the other things that you've run into, like the markings on the walls and such. So, yes, it is apparent that this culture didn't have optic sensors like ours. They didn't see.
Who's that? Travis joined.
Yeah, there's a signal change in the med lab. Felicity harkens Tarkin's awakening.
Well, I just wanted to let you guys know that the easiest way to figure out those cubes would probably just to do a 3D texture scan on all of them, and then let the computer do random permutations until you figure out all the connections to undo the encryption.
Well, it's about time you bloody woke up.
No, I've been here the whole time. I was not part of the game.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a change in him.
Yeah. He's here. He woke up.
Okay. Hey. Just kind of looking at me. Are you hurting anywhere? Tarkin?
Apparently passed back out.
Rolls over. Pulls the blankets up to his chin.
Rolls over and Tarkin. Okay, she runs a med scanner on him to see if there might be something wrong that he's.
It's the same you were getting before. For some reason, he should be conscious. Matter of fact, the brain activity is more aligned with consciousness than with the unconsciousness you had earlier.
Okay, so just have to monitor him.
Sure.
She kind of shakes him lightly to see if he'll respond to, movement, but it is changed. Okay.
All right.
Well, she records the time. He grabbed his blankets, he pulled them up, and then.
Yep. Raven, after you've gone through the security portion, it is, like I said, it is surprising. You expected to find like their weapons bay or something there, and instead, just more triangles.
Triangle?
Yeah. Over 1,200 of them.
Okay.
Oh, jeez.
Um, just
You
some
real,
voice of Kraken echoes in her head, and she's like, "Yeah, maybe we should just do some scans."
Sure.
you realize this is our first alien contact?
Well,
A
second,
positive?
you met with the puppies before, so it's not
Oh
your
yeah,
first. And you
but
you also don't
uh,
know who the children were in that other the single shot that we did with.
yeah. Um, Hi cat, what you doing? Um, yeah, but it's our first intelligent. Well, I guess the puppies were sort of intelligent in some way, but not.
Anyway, um, after you're done with the security facility and you've taken scans of the discs, or you're actually going to bring them with you as well.
Cool.
But either, both.
Sure.
Yeah, it's not a lot of physical space. Like I said, apparently these guys believed in traveling light, so their materials don't take up a lot of space or weigh a lot.
Okay.
Excellent.
Might as well take it.
What was that, Olivia?
I said you might as well take it.
Libby, the raider struggles in her bed. Says something.
Okay. Felicity moves over there.
Okay, same thing. Bioscan suggests that the person is should be conscious. There's no reason for their unconsciousness. There's nothing biologically wrong with them. She is still bruised up like Jesse was, like Mob was, but
Yeah, is.
yeah. But your fluid transfer has equalized her system, so she's healthier than she's probably been in a while.
Okay. Well, I'll keep the nutrients up, and it won't hurt her.
Okay.
And everybody else, if they're out for such a long time, she makes sure that they get nutrients as well, because
Okay.
it will keep them stable.
Also, Raven, in likewise fashion, this structure's 7-point mount to the ground is what holds it in place. That easily enough, like it's almost like a dental implant. That whatever it is, the structure itself is relatively uh, mobile, but once you mount it in place, it's as sturdy as a replacement tooth would be.
They got it pinned down really good.
Mm-hmm.
Tent pegs.
Yep.
That was a very interesting analogy.
Okay.
Felicity, as you're sitting there looking down, did you hear what Libby said?
No, I didn't.
Libby said, "What an interesting reality
Analogy.
analogy."
Analogy. What is an? Oh, she turns over to. Hello. Are you awake enough to speak?
Rolls back over. 5 more minutes.
5 more minutes.
5 more minutes. Okay. You've got it.
So the Raiders away.
Yeah, the Raiders awake.
Yeah, she lets you know. Travis, uh, Tarkin did rouse enough to pull up his blanket, but then, while his bioscan shows that he should be awake, he's not awake. Uh, the raider just came awake and spoke a few words. I don't know how comprehensible. She just said, "Oh my, what an interesting analogy," and then was said, "Give her 5 more minutes." So she at least seems to be with us, though the other two yet are not. I haven't seen a stirring from Sergei at all.
Okay, so we've checked out command and control and security. Any other checks you want to make on the facility? Are we going to start dismantling the buildings? What's your plan there, Mob?
I'm not sure. I think we should take a moment, and once we understand this information we've got, maybe that might help us figure out what to do next. Is what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
But we got to decipher this stuff first and make it digestible.
Alrighty. The computer says that it will take him roughly 24 hours to process the data that you've brought in so far, and we'll be able to give you a update and an analysis of what we have at the beginning of next session, since it's right at 4 o'clock now. So,
Ah, Raven, since when did our computer pick up a proper uh, British accent?
voice? Didn't even have a voice last time.
Yeah.
No idea. Sometimes I think this ship is sentient.
You think it's what?
Sentient. That the vessel itself is sentient.
Interesting.
Nobody said anything like that when we bought it.
No, I know.
They also didn't tell you about the weird blind jump capability.
Yeah.
No.
There's a lot they didn't tell us.
Oh yeah.
They said it had an experimental jump drive
Yes, that is true.
and possible warp gate capability.
Yes.
Wow.
Why we bought it.
Excellent.
Yes.
Yeah, it was probably one of the best ships for us too. But
Yes.
the other thing was interesting, but
Well, thank you to our viewers for joining us for this episode, and we will definitely see you next week. Also, watch for the other episodes, 1 o'clock and 6 o'clock, and also Iteration Nation will be doing several more shows this week. So have a great day. Bye.
bye bye.